the feminine side. The standpoint. Still listen to the feminine side. The standpoint.
This is when we get to start our conversation and our panel discussion. We have 2 sessions, and the first session is going to have women from the older generation having a conversation with us, after which we'll hear what the younger generation also has got to say. I see us smiling because we said the older and the younger generation. The senior generation. I totally agree. The senior generation. Okay. So first, my panelists are going to be introduced briefly, and they'll take their seat here. Patricia Obonai is an accomplished leader with 23 years of experience in Ghana's telecommunications sector. As the first Ghanaian CEO of Vodafone Ghana, she is a prominent figure in the industry. She's passionate about STEM, and she advocates for it as well. She serves on several boards, including the KNUST Engineering Education Project and the Global Young Academy Advisory Board, Germany. Patricia holds a BSc in Electrical and Electronic Engineering from KNUST, an Executive MBA from the University of Ghana Business School, and has completed Executive Education at the Kellogg School of Management, USA, London Business School, and INSEAD in France. She has been recognized locally and internationally for her exceptional leadership and commitment to empowering others. She is married with 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, let's warmly receive Patricia Obonai. Reverend Ikuya Ofori-Boateng is the Director of Programs for the Anglican Diocese of Accra. She is a member of the United States Trade Advisory Committee on Africa and serves as a member of the board of the Otumfuo Osei Tutu II Foundation. Reverend Ikuya is also the co-founder of Equitas, a faith-based foundation which has a vision to become the leading NGO in Africa, where organizations can source young tertiary graduates who have been molded into self-aware, passionate, and fit-for-purpose young people through personalized grooming and training. Reverend Ikuya's book, Broken for Use, is a deeply moving personal and spiritual memoir, which has been touted as a must-read by the likes of Elizabeth Ohini, Professor Mercy Oduyoye, and Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi. In it, she demonstrates that despite our brokenness, the goodness of God can still shine through us. Please, let's receive her with a warm round of applause. Miss Adria Pokuya-Bame is an administrator by profession and a human rights advocate by passion. She is Executive Director of Women's Initiative for Self-Empowerment, an NGO that seeks to empower women and children through psychosocial support services to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Ms. Bame strives to utilize her people management skills and passion for social justice in contributing significantly to creating a violence-free society where women are empowered to live meaningful lives and are able to contribute to national development. Let's welcome her with a round of applause. Thank you. We have Dr. Sarah Dobaji. She is a storyteller, cantor, director, and actor. She is the former head of Department of Theatre Arts at the School of Performing Arts, University of Ghana, Legon. About 15 years ago, the events of life awakened her to the reality that the Ghanaian communal storytelling was gradually becoming an endangered art form. She then started a movement to revive and document Ghanaian community storytelling for posterity. Out of this movement, She established the Lododo Arts Foundation, which embraces storytelling, experimental theater, advocacy, Ghanaian language proficiency, cultural activism on a whole, as a mentoring organization to help young artists find their voices. She is currently the artist director of the foundation. Dr. Dubaji has worked in various communities in Ghana to get the people to revive their storytelling culture. She has documented over 1,000 stories in audio-visual format. Wow. Her data has supported 2 PhD research and several MA, MPhil, MFA, and other academic research. Her research area is folk aesthetics and performance and spirituality. Based on her activities, Dr. Dubaji has also given numerous presentations at both national and international conferences, and she has a number of publications to her credit. Let's warmly receive her with a round of applause. And we have in our midst Dr. Mrs. Ellen Hagen. She is the founder of Lane Services, an HR company of about 29 years. She is co-founder of Legacy Girls College Akuse and president of Human Resource Service Providers Association of Ghana and vice president of the Bible Society of Ghana. She is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management and has won over 35 local and international awards, including the prestigious CIMG Marketing Woman of the Year Award in 2011 and the Ultimate Woman of the Year Award at the exclusive Men of the Year Emmy Africa Awards, an honor bestowed on only one woman each year at a ceremony set aside solely to recognize men. Mrs. Hagen serves on several boards, including the Samara Group Board, the Emmy Board, the Christian Sentinel Board, and is a subscriber of Star Ghana. Mrs. Ellen Hagen is a marriage counselor and is blessed with 4 children and 6 grandchildren. She has been married 4 times, but to the same man, Gilbert Hagen, for 38 years. She has 4 books to her credit: Soft Skills, What Gives One Job Seeker an Edge Over Another, All About Job Interviews, Why Are You Here, and A Voice of Leadership and Legacy. Mrs. Hagen loves the Lord and is convinced that Ephesians 2 verse 10 sums up her purpose. Please, let's put our hands together one more time for these phenomenal ladies. Thank you for gracing this occasion. And I'm sure most of us are wondering who the moderator is. My name is Eunice Tony, a media practitioner and the one who is the MC for the day. Please put your hands together for me. Now we have ladies, powerful ladies, all seated here. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to hear from the senior ladies how the journey has been so far for them, after which we hear from the younger generation. So let me start from you, my immediate left. If you can tell us just in 60 seconds what your journey has been. I know that's very difficult to summarize, but if you could just tell us how you started and how you've gotten to where you are right now.
Well, a journey of 60 years in 60 seconds, a second for each year. Let me just say that I was privileged, really. I don't come from a wow background, but my father believed in his daughters, and he had 3 of us. So there was everything for me to move ahead. I mean, he wouldn't hear, he was an university lecturer, and so there was no way his daughter was not going to the university. He actually picked my university forms after I finished secondary school. So you know what that means. But one thing about my journey, I mean, obviously it hasn't been easy. No, if you're trying to make a change, you can't have it easy. And of course, you have your family background and all that. But passion is what has driven me. Passion. And if there's anything you want to leave here with, remember passion. Passion is what will pick you up from the gutters and keep your head above water. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, are you clapping for me?
Yes, you did it. So let's hear from our storyteller. She's a storyteller. Let's see how well she does it in 60 seconds.
Thank you very much. I will try to keep it in 60 seconds.
Okay.
The significant thing for me this morning is I've been doing this for 15 years. And so I identify with your milestone. My journey began when my 3-year-old son asked me, "Mama, tell me a story." And then I couldn't remember any of the stories I had enjoyed and learned from as a young Ghanaian growing up. And I felt threatened that if I didn't do anything, then something else would take a position that it does not deserve. Because I could remember all the other stories, Beauty and the Beast, Little Red Riding Hood, etc., etc. But I couldn't remember any of the Ghanaian folk tales. And then I said to myself, this quest is a way of asking me to introduce him to the whole of our ancestral holding in the archive. And it was not time for me to say, I have lost the key. And then I said, hey, if I don't do anything, there are many children out there. If we don't tell them, what will they tell their children and they theirs? Then the sleepy slope on which our culture has been pitched will take effect. And so I decided to take the responsibility to do what I can to salvage some of what is left. Is it time?
Excellent. Thank you.
A very picturesque narration.
Dr. Hagen, your turn.
When my daughter saw the, what did they call us? Old generation, the senior generation or whatever, she said, oh, so I play that card all the time. That I'm allowed to refer because sometimes I don't remember certain things. And after the MMs, my 1 minute will be over. So it's a pleasure to be here, Gifty. We are just, I have my shirt off. Don't count that. Okay. I stand in agreement, upon hindsight, of course, with Steve Harvey, that, you know, anybody can be successful, but it's not everybody that can be great. And this was in line with a story that a friend's grandmother told his friend on her deathbed. Do you know your great-grandfather's name? And he said, oh, I don't. He said, it's because he didn't leave you anything. That's why you don't remember his name. Live your life in such a way that your great-grandchild will know your name. That's what legacy is all about. And so we can be successful. But to be great, you have to make a difference, make an impact. Let somebody be better than you. So I come from a family, a big family, and I'm the baby last. So you know how baby last we are like. I was pampered and basked in the love of my older siblings and my parents. So I was allowed to be myself, and so I was, gradually very confident, not afraid to make mistakes and take risks. So I developed the skills to become solution-oriented. And so when I founded Learning Services, it was to solve a problem in the world of work. And so we wanted to make innovation in the world of work a must. And it's all about people. And we remained relevant by jumping onto one sigmoid curve after another, so that after almost 30 years, we are arguably the best HR company in Ghana. At least we're the only one in Ghana Club 100, and we thank God for how far He's brought us. And
Yes.
when we set up Lene, at some point, we started getting recognition for all the work we were doing. And in 1 year alone, we got over 20 awards, including some really prestigious ones. And so I was endlessly receiving invitations to go and speak to women. And I gathered from such interventions that a lot of us women, we were not really hungry for leadership positions, maybe because of our various situations and all that. But so I arrived at the sad conclusion that it may be a bit late for some of us, but for our children and our grandchildren, there was still time to let them know that they could be all they wanted to be, you know. And so Legacy Girls College was born. And the fulfillment I get from seeing these girls who have walked on the corridors of Legacy Girls, when you see how caring and confident they are, I feel so privileged that God gave us this enablement to start Legacy Girls. And then with Lene, sometimes a total stranger will walk up to me and say, you know, you gave me my first job. And you are the one who has made me who I am. And that feeling cannot be easily described. And I hope that each one of us will be privileged to enjoy that feeling, at least at some point in our lifetime. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hagen. Reverend, your turn.
So I'm a mechanical engineer, and I practiced as a mechanical engineer for 15 years. So I've been hanging out with boys and guys for a very long time. I went really high in engineering, went through the glass ceiling, did it all. And then one day God decided I should go into priesthood. And I always get the question, how does a mechanical engineer become an Anglican priest? On hindsight, I think it is because I believe that in Christ there's no Jew, there's no Gentile, there's no male, and there's no female. And so whatever it is you want to do, whatever field you find yourself in, just make up your mind to be the very best in that field. If it's shoe shining, be the best shoe shiner there ever was in the world. I've been a priest for 6 years. In 6 years, I've gone from being a deacon, which is the lowest level of priesthood. You come in as an ordinand. And I sit now as the director of programs in the Anglican Diocese of Accra, the first woman to sit in the Bishop's Exco. Of course, Liberia started it all because the first Anglican female priest did come from Liberia, and I had the privilege of meeting her. My life journey is documented in my book, which I'm gifting to our laureate. But it's been about striving for excellence. I loved when you spoke about mediocrity being the order of the day, because it seems as if that is the perspective all of us have taken, that, oh, it's not my father's business. Let me just come and do some and go. But I've come to believe that if, as women, we strive to be absolutely excellent, the world will eventually give us our due, and we will be placed where we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Patricia.
Thank you. Congratulations, Gifty. It's a pleasure to be here. My journey, I think I'll break it into 3 buckets in the interest of time. I think I'm just a reflection of God's grace. I am a regular girl born in Ghana, schooled in Ghana. I'm raised in Latabiokoshi by regular parents, so nothing strange about how I grew up. But I think the second aspect, because everything about my life, as I said, is just God's grace, just channeling you through the journeys one after the other. But I guess the second bucket is really about the ability to take on new challenges, the entire journey through university, and then how I started my internship. I've always been try this role, and kept moving till change companies, move from Tigo to Vodafone. And even in Vodafone, move from your comforts, because I'm an electrical engineer, move from your comforts of a technology director into commercial roles. And it's the commercial roles that give me a complete scope that moved me then into CEO. So it has been trying new things until this. And even with the boards I've taken on, they've always been new discoveries all the time. I think the third bucket has been just support. External and internal support. Family has been amazing. I'm impressed that the husband of Ohiniri is here. Be careful who you marry. It makes a complete difference to the journey and his ability to support you. I have amazing sisters who cover up for me all the time. And I think the last aspect of the support has been the external. Don't be shy of having mentors. Don't be shy of having coaches. Till today, I still have a coach. I still have a mentor who talk me through the journey. And when I'm struggling, I fall back and I go back to them. And I guess the biggest support has been God. So that's me in 60 seconds.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Well done. Thank you. And so because we are talking about the journey of these wonderful ladies, I took a dive into what they have said. So I'm going to be speaking to you based on what you said, and we see how you get to talk to us based on what you have said. We've heard you say. So whatever you write on Facebook, whatever story is written about you, somebody called Eunice Tony is always checking. And if I have to be someone who will moderate the platform where you are, just be sure I'm going to dig it out. So please, let's hand over the mic to Miss Adra Bami. Thank you. All right, I got that. So in my research about you, I heard you say to the media, so I had to start with us. You said, anytime you go reporting on gender-based violence, please wear your gender lens. These were your exact words to the media. One of the risk factors of gender-based violence is low income. So now tell us, based on this reportage that you were making somewhere and what has been made about you, tell us how the reportage is able to influence a woman's self-worth and her willingness to want to empower herself.
Okay. The reason I made this statement, and I'm sure you can all agree with me, especially the local dialect stations, the way they report on abuse itself is abuse. Thank you.
Okay.
So if
Agreed.
they were wearing that gender lens, they wouldn't want to repeat or perpetrate the abuse or extend the abuse. A child has been defiled. A little girl, a little boy, a woman, a young woman. And the way it's reported, and oh yes, sorry if you don't understand, but these are some of the examples, It's like you're sitting in Trotro and you are talking about the destination where you're going. This is somebody who has been through trauma. And you want the public to know. What do you want the public to do with that piece of information you're giving them? You want to draw empathy. You don't make comedy of it. So we took, my organization wise, we took a step to actually genderize. And Lima used to say something. If I tenderize you into being gender sensitive and you don't, I'll terrorize you into... Yeah, I took that from her, So it's important that we do these things because the media is extremely important. Okay, so a young lady has been raped and you're reporting on the rape and you're making it look like she asked for it. She is a survivor and yet you are victimizing her even further. Another person gets raped and does not even feel going to report, even when you have said that DOFSO is there, there are support services available, they won't show up because then everybody knows what they have gone through. Already the abuse itself has lessened her confidence, her self-confidence, and her self-worth. And so if you go as a media person and report it like she's some piece of baggage that was picked from somewhere, what are you doing to her self-worth? And then, of course, without self-confidence, the empowerment that we're looking for will not happen. So it's extremely important if you want to help anybody who has been through abuse stuff, let them believe in themselves. You want to validate the feelings that they have, that they've been hurt, they've been defiled, they've been violated. You want to do that. And then let them know it's not their fault. Put the blame where it is, on the perpetrator, not on the survivor, not on the victim. It's extremely important. And then, of course, you link them up to services. So if you're linking them up to services and they go and what the service provider is going to remember is what has been reported in the media, you're not helping. You're doing more harm than good. Okay? And then, of course, we all know, even if you can't do anything at all, don't do any harm. Leave the person the way she is. instead of adding to her trauma. So it's extremely important. We talk about empowerment. Empowerment begins with self, because there's no way anybody can come and put empowerment on anybody. You need to believe in it. It starts from within. And that's what the media should be looking at when they are reporting these things. So it's extremely important that media reportage is sensitive to the gender issue. So if you wear your gender lenses, there are certain reports that you not give. And I'm telling you, this journey, we've done this for the past 3 years. And sometimes you will still listen to the stories and you're like, are we pouring water on stone? But I mean, engagement with the media persons that we work with, we have a network of media partners. They tell us it's not, they might even write the report the way we want them to write it, but it's the anchors who read the reports that we need to start addressing. So yes, if you're a media person, anytime you're reporting on a violence case, violence against women, violence against boys, violence against girls, please wear that gender lens. And if you don't have, I have a lot in my office. You can come for some.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's hear from Dr. Sarah. So, naturally as women, we possess, that quality of storytelling. We tell stories better than the men, even if they think that we know we tell stories. How can we use the storytelling quality that we have naturally, to amplify our voices and to be able to make ourselves better? How can we use it to our advantage?
Great. The thing about storytelling is sharing our experiences with other people and finding the right vocabulary to express it. So I tell my story to you. Which writer was it who said, we will not sing our dirges to the entertainment of others? So we tell our stories not to make others enjoy our dirges, but we tell our stories to find connection from one to the other. Let me identify with your experiences. Let you identify with mine. And then together we build society. We build community based on understanding and collective identities that we build as we go along. So the stories we tell, that's why I said it was a way of introducing my son to the holding of our ancestral archive. The stories we tell gives us our cultural grounding, our value system, our collective interest, our fears and aspirations. It creates a lot of platforms for us, one after the other, or some in unison. So when we tell the stories, one, we purge ourselves. There are things that happen to you that you keep quiet about. You sweep it under the carpet. But when you give it voice, when you speak it, that breath comes out of you. It brings healing. It brings psychological strengthening. It builds self-esteem. It builds vocabulary. It builds creative communication, creative listening, creative thinking. And I say that creativity is the pivot around which all learning must spin. And when we tell, it is the simplest way to massage creativity in a person. Because you are creating on the spur of the moment when you're telling your story. And so when we talk about building a nation, what are we talking about? We are talking about building up individuals who come together to make the nations. So when I tell you a story, you don't need to go through that experience to have learned from it. So I tell you a story of an experience I have had. You learn from that experience. So by the time you get to that stream, you know how to ferry across it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, And so it is important that we share our experiences on all fronts. I'm sure a great story was told and a great lesson was learned. It is a form of creative communication. One thing we don't realize very often is, as Ghanaians, our speech is not literal. People say Ghanaians answer questions with questions, but they will question the intention behind the question, because the intention is what the person responds to. So when your intention is not clear, you say, are you going, Anke BB? Because the intention is not clear. And so we tell these stories also to communicate very complex issues. Our forebears, not to take us too far back, but it is still the communication we have today because we still use proverbs. It was a way of creating a social equilibrium so that if you have offended me, I don't come at you and say, hey, now why did you do blee, 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 blee? It is likely that you will jump on the defensive. Voila, conflict has been created. But if I tell you a story, so I will tell you a story about the situation I want to talk to you about in a way that you will know that I am addressing that issue. But because of poetic license too, you don't get offended. And then we get to speak about it without it becoming offensive and hurtful, So there are so many things at this point. Please, I'll tell you the story. The national service. I had a national service young lady who was supposed to come to me to work with me in my office, but things happened and she got pregnant after school, unplanned. She came to me crestfallen. Can I still come and be? I said, yes, come and be my service person, pregnancy or not. After what? Because she was contemplating an abortion. And even if she was going to do that, I don't know how she was going to do it. So I encouraged her. She came with me. In fact, she went into labor from my office. And we had the baby. I've become a grandma. We had the baby. And as soon as she could, I encouraged her to bring the child to the office. So I would oversee how she's raising her child as well, because she didn't have that support. So I would tell her, mommy, put the child to sleep. The child is restless, put him to sleep. Said, ma, I don't know how to do it though. I will take this child and sing for the child, and he will go to sleep. I'll lay him down, and we will continue working for a couple of hours before he wakes up. And I started telling her, I can't be doing it for you all the time. Learn it. Go and learn a song. Sing to your child. Build bonding with your child. She said, okay. Do you know what she did? Today's generation. She went online and downloaded songs onto her phone. And when she came to the office, I said, put Nana to sleep. She said, okay. Proudly put the baby over her shoulder, pressed her phone. And the song was playing from a phone. I mean, if you are a child raised from this tech background, how would you know how to talk one to another? How would you know? Because you will grow up playing with Google, playing with Siri, playing with these people. So you don't know how to live with a person. Our children, let's be frank, our children no longer play with human beings. They play in the virtual world. And that is part of the reason cruelty is growing in our communities. That is true. We no longer have fellow feeling. So when we tell these stories one to another, we build that interhuman connectivity. That's all, dear. That's all.
Yes. Thank you very much. Please, let's put our hands together for her.
Less than point.
All right. So, Dr. Hagen, I'm coming to you. You see, every time I look at what it is people are saying about you or the video clips, I always see that one thing always stands out. You keep talking about our life partners, how we should be choosy about the life partner, how we should make sure we are sure before we decide on that person. And even as women, not every event. We shouldn't attend every event. And if you're attending an event, there's a kind of hairstyle for a particular kind of event. You go into that kind of detail. And now it gets me to wonder, how will someone like you be able to have this work-life balance? Because you're saying that we should be sure of who we are marrying, we should not attend every event, we have to do ABC. Let us understand how you were able to do all of what you do and still balance it when it comes to work, to home, and to yourself personally.
Asamo. You know, when you're trying to practice work-life balance, it's like riding a bicycle, isn't it? You only know you're not doing so well when you topple off and fall off. So I'm really passionate about work-life balance because I realize that, you know, a lot of us, we do not enjoy the now. And, we are always looking forward to working so hard that we'll have a good future for this and that and that. So it's something that I talk about a lot. And with what I have mentioned earlier, I've seen that we women, we wear several hats. We have so many roles that we play. So one of the key resources that we lack is time, you know, to be able to juggle all the things that we do. And if we don't have enough time to play mother, wife, career woman, and all the other things that we do, and we are just, juggling. Most of us are overwhelmed. We are not enjoying the now. Then we have a problem. Because it's always about next year, maybe I'll be able to do this, I'll be able to take a holiday, I'll be able to buy another car. But now, it's always a problem. So that's why I say that the society puts us in several boxes that we accept, you know, and we need to. It's not easy to do, but we need to stop it. There's a time when if you are not married by a certain age, you are in trouble. Then you become a prayer topic for your poor parents have to pray for you because Chenny are worried. But we are saying that we women should have the right to choose whether we want to be married in the first place or not. You get me? It's not everybody who wants to get married, and it should be okay. But if from where I sit, you have people in the boardroom who, when they have to go for weekend retreats, they have to go and wear rings on their wedding finger to pretend they are married before they are treated in a certain way. Then it's problematic. So because we don't have the time to juggle all those things, first of all, we must accept that yes, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Yes, we need a support system. And everybody's support system should be different. It doesn't have to be the same. It is a mistake for women to think we have to do everything by ourselves. And a lot of us do that. So we are not really enjoying our lives. We are overwhelmed and all those things. And in addition to that, because of the social pressures, and I use funerals as an example. When your friend is bereaved and you want to sympathize, society says the longest time you stay with a friend shows that you are the one who are sympathizing the most. So when you go and visit somebody who is bereaved, we'll be there, we'll stay there. And the person who is bereaved doesn't even have time to go and rest. And so you are sitting with your friends sympathizing, but we can't all be chief mourners. So is the relationship between you and the person who is bereaved warranting the time you are spending sitting with her for all that time? Meanwhile, you have homework to do. You have PTA meetings to attend. You have all those things that you are doing, some research paper to finish. And so my recommendation is that we have to be very choosy, first of all, in the events that we attend. We should stop, going for one funeral service, which is saying we should all wear black, and then you rush somewhere to go and change, maybe in the washroom of some hotel, and change and wear black and white or white, and then maybe you have a wedding afterwards. They say a color scheme is blue, so you have to go and change somewhere else. I mean, the whole day you are changing left, right, and center and attending. So those are the things I feel very strongly about. That we don't realize life is short. We are here for just a short time, and we must make our time count. Because even if you live to be 100 years, it's still too short. And this is not where we are staying. So that's why I talk about managing our time and things like that. Apart from that, what I do might not necessarily be the blueprint, but what I'll share a little of what I do. First of all, I was blessed to have a man I call Solid Gold. And he is the one who is my biggest support system now that I'm older. And this thing happens to every season. There's a season to everybody's assignment. When the season changes, the assignment changes. So in your early years, your heyday, when you start having babies and stuff like that, you'll need a support system. That may be your parents, your big sister, or a friend. And then when the children are getting older, I chose a pediatrician that would have consultation in the afternoons after work. So 5:30, I had an opportunity to go to my pediatrician with my children to do the weighing and stuff like that. So I could go to work without asking permission, that women usually do to do those things. So these are some of the innovations that you could bring to your lifestyle. Now there's a whole variety of people. We are the endangered species, but in your time, you can, do your research and find what works for you. And then, because we are busy, you can't afford to be falling sick. I don't know where we can get our energy. So every morning I go to the author and finisher of my faith and pray for strength and energy and command the day, because where will the strength come from? And then, because you don't have time to fall sick, you must eat well. Eat properly. I know it's difficult because me and bread, for instance, we can't divorce. And that's... So we need to balance it with the vegetables and the fruits. It's important. This tent is the only one you have that is going to take you to your 90 years or whatever you want to stay on this earth. So if the body breaks down, there's nothing you can do but to go home. So you have to take care of this body. And the exercise is important. Our legs, we have to walk. Do a lot of walking so that we'll stay mobile. Because as we are growing, it's becoming more and more difficult to for you to be able to walk easily. You realize that nowadays, I realize that I'm not tall too, but it looks like I'm stupid. I stand ready. Say, hey, what is happening? Chest out, So that's about exercising and things. And then you need to be good to yourself. Some of us, we don't even have time to go and do our hair. Thankfully, wigs are in season. So you can take your wig to be done for you, and then when you are hot, you pull it on. Or you braid your hair nicely. That would take. But you must find time for yourself. Take care of yourself. And then you don't want to be selfish, but pamper yourself too. For me, the spas and the massages work for me. So I don't joke. Yeah. I don't joke with those times at all. And so I have time when I have that stuff done. I think I've covered all that.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have.
You
Yes, you have.
shouldn't feel compelled to choose anybody in trousers just because you are 30 years. The doctor says it's best to have your first baby before 30. But it's God who orders our steps. So if it is not your time, don't rush and go and take anybody who will make your life miserable and will not let you fulfill your purpose. Because God made us wow. Women are wonderful. Thank you.
Women are wonderful. God made us wow. Thank you. So, Reverend, I'm coming to you. What I found about you, everybody wants to hear. Okay? We know you've written a book, and this book, you said that it doesn't matter how one is broken, the goodness of the Lord will always make the person shine. But we find ourselves in society where stories that have been told about you get people to judge you, or people may not really hear stories, but the moment they see you, they decide to think of you in the way they feel like they should think of themselves. As a woman of faith, talking to people who are listening about people who are broken and about the ability of God to make them shine, what would you recommend for someone who thinks that all hope is lost because they are broken? Stories about them is all over the internet, because that's the world we find ourselves right now. And even without the internet, in church, people are whispering and doing certain things. In the society, the stories are not really good. Based on your experience, I would like you to take us through how we should be dealing with things like this now, because now stories are very fast to move. The moment it breaks, is everywhere. That's your time.
Thank you. So the first thing I'd say is that I'm a big believer in storytelling. When you were talking, I thought, I should just cede my time to this woman and so she can tell us some more, because it was really interesting to hear the stories. But when I think about some of the struggles that we have as women and how to overcome some of these, the first thing I would recommend is self-forgiveness. We talk a lot about forgiveness, about forgiving other people, about helping other people, letting go of what other people have done to us. But hardly do we pay attention to number one, forgiving ourselves, letting go of what we have done to ourselves. Whatever shame, guilt, whatever it is that we feel, the first person we need to forgive is ourselves. The second thing we need to do is to tell our own story. The world calls it telling our story. In the church, we call it what? Sharing our testimony. And once you invite a priest, you should expect a sermon. So I'll give you a brief sermon. And this is really practical. The Lord Jesus Christ, when he was crucified, he woke up and he went and found his disciples. His disciples were petrified. And he went to them and he showed them his scars and said, "My peace I give to you." And I've always thought, Charlie, Jesus Christ, why didn't he hide his scars? Because that would have shown the devil that, you cut me, you scarred me, but I'm fine. But he showed his scars. Why? Because he wanted his disciples to see and to know that this is what I have been through. These are not scars. These are badges of honor. And I'm showing them to you so that you know that I overcame and therefore you too can overcome. We talk about history. History is his story. Guys have told their story over and over and over again. If we want to know the totality of God's story, then it is time we told her story, our story, so that people know what we go through, what we experience. We need to stop this colonization of women where a man comes from somewhere to come and tell us how we feel and what is going on with us. We need to tell our story. So those are my two recommendations. One, let's forgive ourselves. Whatever happened, happened. I wrote a book about a lot of things that happened. People say, "Man, how could you say all this stuff?" Because it happened. And it's happening to so many other people. And they need to see a normal human being walking around to whom it happened, who didn't die. I'm here, I'm fine, I'm strong. And then let's tell our story so that other people can see us and say, If this person made it, I too can make it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we hear from you, Patricia. On the platform, I heard you talking about empathy. Empathy. You kept emphasizing on it. And I think that's great. It's a great virtue. It's a great attribute if one is empathetic towards the other. However, because we are all women and we are also here to be able to understand how this power can be used, to our advantage. Let's take a look at what research is saying. According to research, we have that women are more empathetic towards people than the men. So if we have this virtue, if we have this power within us, how can we use it to our advantage?
So I remember Gifty inviting me to the relaunch of her studio. And we had a previous encounter, and that was the only encounter I'd had with Gifty. So how on earth was I going to be part of the emotion that she showed at that program? I had to listen to her story. I had to understand her story. And then I had to share in the feeling. You can meet somebody and just be sympathetic. When you're young, you sympathize. But when you empathize, you begin to understand how the person feels. You put yourself in the person's shoes and you share in the feeling. And at that point, she just melted everybody in the room because she explained her story to us. Women are blessed with the gift of empathy. Everybody has it. But it doesn't matter whether you're a stepmom or you're the regular mom of a child. Your choice to treat that child well comes from that empathetic feeling of a mother. You carry this empathetic feeling to work. And everybody asks, how come you are such an amazing leader as a woman? You can be a leader, but you bring more to that role as a woman because of that empathy that you carry, especially when it's cognitive. So you sit, you listen to people, they tell you their challenges, you identify with the challenges they go through, and that is how you work with them. I always say that we're able to get people to do what we want. As leaders, our job is to influence. And before you can influence people, you need to build relationships with them. If you do not show up at what is important to those people, if you do not understand what she's going through at that time of her life, if you are not empathetic and share in that feeling, there's very little you can contribute. What you do to that person is that you only take. And people don't give you their loyalty when you're a leader and you behave like that.